Hi, my name is Konyka. I am a PhD student at the University of the District of Columbia in urban leadership and entrepreneurship. I am now in my third year and happily moving into the dissertation phase. And today I am very pleased to share with you Rethinking Public Dialogue, how leaders can leverage social marketing principles to create optimal community participation. Here's the outline of the research I'll share with you today. And my motivation for research: cities have big challenges, and there are often contentious discussions around these challenges: gentrification, use of public space, new developments. The government often uses communication processes for community participation to inform these decisions. Yet these processes themselves have their own problems. The perception that all voices don't matter, that some matter more than others when you consider factors such as income and race. So I had the idea, what if we looked at social marketing principles, which have been proven to influence social change, and apply them to a community participation process to create a better process. Here's the abstract of the research I'm sharing today. And first, going to the introduction, stakeholder engagement processes have been shown to have numerous issues, including the perception that marginalized voices are not heard and the community input is not valued by leaders. Next, I'm looking at a new approach, how social marketing can influence change, yet social change is not possible or the social marketing effective without buy-in. And buy-in requires representative participation. This paper offers a conceptual framework, macro social marketing principles to optimize community participation, which I define as a contribution of perspective, needs, desires, values, and or vision by representative members and groups impacted by and influencing a decision. So my research objectives: first, examine social marketing principles to identify strategies to improve community dialogue and participation. Next, examine models of stakeholder engagement and identify key problems. And then finally, develop a conceptual framework to optimize community participation processes, and I will assess 2 case studies. The literature review. Government agencies are well positioned to influence change with social marketing strategies, yet they need the buy-in and resources to be successful. Next, stakeholder engagement literature shows us issues, but also opportunities. These processes can be highly effective when there's massive pre-planning and lots of citizen involvement. Next, legitimacy matters. Buy-in occurs when all stakeholders view the process as legitimate. And then finally, social marketing strategies impact behavioral change through multiple points of engagement, interaction, and influence. And these are the points that I'm going to look at to develop a better community participation strategy. So going into the theoretical framework, I'm looking at social marketing features and the key features that have been identified. This is adapted from Al-Mishtari et al. 2017. First, behavior change. Next, audience research. Then segmentation. What are the different groups within the audience? Then the exchange. What creates value in the process? Then the marketing mix, the product, price, promotion, and place. And then competition. What competes with the change that you are trying to influence? So next, I identified key issues in community participation and stakeholder engagement. First, diversity matters. The demographics, the participation by income, race, neighborhood, ward, for example, of the city that a resident lives in. The range of stakeholder matters. Are all of the stakeholder groups within the community at the table? Next, knowledge of process and valuation matters. Is there clear communication of the process at all stages, from the beginning to the end? Is there a value for community input throughout the process? And finally, belief matters. This is a human intangible, but it matters. Do people feel connected? Is there a sense of trust? Are you seeing resistance? Do people feel valued? So I put together the theoretical framework and then also the problems I identified in what I call the ISSE community participation framework. So first, behavior change. How do we increase participation at all levels in the community in these communication processes? Next, segmentation. What are the different groups within the community and how are they impacted? Next, audience research. What are the needs, behaviors, values of the members of the community? And that forms the first pillar, individuals. When we pay attention to the individuals pillars, we'll see an impact on demographics. They should be more representative. We should see a better range of stakeholders represented, and that forms the stakeholders pillar. Next, we turn to exchange of the social marketing feature. What creates value by participating in this community process? When is the benefit of participating greater than the cost of not participating? The marketing mix. How do we have a better process? What place should it be in? How do we communicate the process throughout the community? And next, competition. What's competing with people not participating? All of those factors form the systems pillar. And when we pay attention to the systems, we should see better processes where we see better trust, we see less resistance, and people feeling a greater sense of value in the process. And we should see better processes in terms of communication and in terms of uses of input. And that's what I term the evaluation pillar, the ISSE, Individual Stakeholder Systems Evaluation Community Participation Framework. So my propositions is that use of the strategies on the individual pillar will substantially increase representative community participation. Next, I look at the use of the 3 strategies on the systems pillar, and that should generate better processes with better buy-in. So I have 2 case studies. First is a 2-country engagement between a nonprofit in Kenya and a US college. And what was so remarkable about this project design was how much they emphasized a stakeholder engagement. There was massive segmentation and audience research, a considerable amount of pre-planning to generate buy-in at multiple levels at the college and the community in Kenya when they came together to design a project to deal with the massive numbers of students that were out of school by designing this international service project in this summer camp. And they saw massive buy-in through this process. Next, systems. They paid attention to exchange, mutual respect throughout the process, drawing upon the ideas and resources of both the college in the US and the nonprofit in Kenya, and marketing mix. They had a multimodal program design and outreach that led to extensive buy-in. And this also led to new entrepreneurial solutions, which actually sustained the partnership. Next, right here in Washington, D.C., the 11th Street Bridge Project was looking at how do we optimize the use of this public space in a way that includes all of the community and doesn't lead to further gentrification. They did massive stakeholder engagement and massive mapping of the community with focus groups over a 2-year period. They leveraged existing groups that were in the community to gather input into the design of the park. They also had a massive systems approach. They looked at multiple channels, different ways to create value, and they ended up having members of the community involved at all stages of the design of the park, from the beginning to the end, and community members ended up contributing to the actual final design of the project, leaving them with a sense of ownership and connection and influence over this process. In this ISSE framework, when you pay attention to the individual pillar, you will see an impact on the stakeholders. And when you focus on the systems pillar, you will have a better process of stakeholder and community participation. So finally, the IC framework is a valuable one for cities looking to gain participation with diverse community groups. In both cases, resources and focus matter. You need to have the resources to execute the strategy, and this is key for public leadership as well. IC can be looked at as a way to examine strategies, why they're effective or not, and it can also look at these big discussions, such as the UN Sustainable Goals, and see how can we have better conversations about these big global issues. And finally, pay attention to small-scale projects, start there. Next, look at the ecosystem in a community. Look at all the factors, look and pay attention to those. And finally, this is a highly effective framework to examine community participation. These are my references, and I thank you for listening.